This podcast is part of Another Happy Studios,
the home of podcasts with passion.
Hello and welcome to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David, and join with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
Moon.
M-O-O-N,
yeah, the thing we see in the sky. Yeah, moon.
You haven't even let me tell the people that there will be spoilers before you started doing spoilers.
Who's listening to this episode having not watched the movie in which the episode is named after?
I don't know. Sometimes people just jump in.
It's not a spoiler.
Well, listen.
It doesn't give away anything. In fact, and I thought, I'm going to give Nia Da Costa the chance to listen to her and what she sounds like, because all I have heard from her is just her name and the movie she's done. I've actually never given the 10 seconds of my time to hear her voice and see what she comes across as. And in listening that 10 to 5 minutes, 10 to seconds to 5 minutes video, she described the movie in a summary of 1 or 2 words, and I recall her saying, moon.
Okay, well, well, that's fine then. If Nia Da Costa does it, then I suppose you can do it as well. But I want to welcome everyone to Talking Pictures Podcast. We have new episodes every single Wednesdays, so make sure if you're not already, you're subscribed to us on your favourite podcasting app of choice. My name is David. I'm here with my friend Brian, and we're going to be talking today about the sequel to 28 Years Later, which is entitled 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. It only came out, 7 months after the last movie? Which is, I don't know about you, Brian, but it's very, very, very close to the previous one. It's very close.
This is the closest thing of getting. Is it though? Maybe not. Talk about movies that are teasing. Movie title, Chapter 1, releasing this time in this year. Chapter 2, releasing latter half of same year.
The last time I can remember this happening, Wicked did it, but it was year to year. We had it with Avengers, Infinity War and Endgame. But the last time that I'm aware that it was like a major event where it was part 1 this time of the year and part 2 that same year was The Matrix 2 and 3.
Kevin Costner tried to do it with his 2 Western movies. And
he tried to do it?
Yeah, he did very bad on that. We've got the 4 Beatles movies that are going to try and attempt that in 2028. We'll see how that goes. Can't wait.
They're not even trying to do it later in the year. It's all the same month, it seems.
That's a whole year. That's a year of filming.
That's ambitious.
But the only divide in making the time between these 2 movies feel further apart from each other is the fact that one comes out in the summer of 2025 and this comes out in the latter half of the winter 2026.
It is technically 2 different years, but it still very much feels as though that 28 years later is the new one. Like if you're talking to the average Joe, it's like, oh, have you seen the new 28 Years Later? And they're like, oh yeah, I did see it. And it's like, no, the new one. And they're like, what? And people might not even be aware that there is a second one now that's come out.
Spoiled, David. Just fucking spoiled. And I have to say, right, when I first heard the title The Bone Temple, which was even before the release of the first 28 Years Later movie, I thought, that sounds shit and stupid and mediocre and cheap, and how wrong I was. It's just a title.
Well, before we get into the titles and the plot and everything in between, you normally
and
do
at the end.
And at the end, have you got a trailer of the week for us?
I've got 4, David. 4?
Could they be? Stop teasing me, Brian. How about that? Why don't you tell us what the trailer of the week is?
And it's not fantastic either. One is fantastic, if I'm going to be honest, Dave. Only one trailer is very, very, very fantastic. Funny thing, we're going with a theme here because in one of the 4 trailers, one of the Fantastic Four shows up, but we'll get to that in a minute. 4 Avengers teaser trailers, approximately a minute long, and in getting them leaked, definitely by Marvel, and then screened in IMAX theaters in front of Avatar, coordinated by Marvel, and then dropped online by Marvel. We get a trailer of Steve Rogers, which officially confirms his return, Chris Evans' return in Avengers Doomsday. Then we get the next one, which the longest consistent character in the MCU, Thor. And then we jump to the next bold and most anticipated and eagerly awaited to view on the big screen, the original X-Men characters return. So they get their own trailer. And then we just random things up a bit more and just throw the Wakandans in one trailer and proclaim it the Wakandans and Fantastic Four trailer, even though one of the 4 members in the Fantastic Four shows up, but they still refer to the Fantastic Four trailer. No, it's just Ben. I'll be saying a different thing in a year's time if the 4 members of Fantastic Four are standing next to Ben and in the scene that we're watching. But the trailer's mostly of Wakanda, and the end drops in a cherry on top with Ben Grimm. So what do you think of the trailers?
I think they're really, really interesting because they're all so varied. My excitement level, it like ebbed and flowed when it came to what trailers were releasing, because like I think it's if you had told me 5 years ago, okay, that we were going to get 4 teasers for Avengers Doomsday, and I would say yeah, and the worst one is the one that reveals that Steve Rogers is going to return to this franchise, I would have thought you a crazy person. But like, I think that the way that the order in which they released these trailers, I think was completely wrong. I think they shouldn't have done Steve Rogers trailer first. That should have been the last one. It felt as though with that trailer, with that teaser, it was like the whole so-and-so is returning, so-and-so will return in Avengers Doomsday or whatever, in Endgame. It feels like a meme. And so when it came up the first time and it was Steve Rogers will return, I was like, oh, this feels like a joke. And like, there's no gravitas to it or anything like that. It's like as soon as you see the back of him, you know who it is. Then the Thor teaser came out, and it's a weird thing to say. It's like a return to the serious Thor. And even though I really liked the comedic Thor that we got in Thor Ragnarok, not a lot of people liked it in Love and Thunder. So it's like, but then not very many people liked it in the original Thor or the Dark World. So it's like, it's a weird, like, I want a blend of those two, you know, for this next one. But
Thor was always the best when he was in the hands of directors making Avengers films.
I don't know, I liked him in Thor Ragnarok. I think he's at his best there.
It just made him funny.
It made him more relatable, I think, rather than just funny.
Yeah, but look, Thor's had the most change. Why are we talking about these? It's only a minute long, and it's just with him saying a prayer to Odin, who's been long dead by now. And I felt it was keeping consistent with the themes of fatherhood. But then that just completely abandons by the time the third teaser comes out, and it's arguably the best teaser.
That's what I think should have been the first one. I think that the X-Men should have been the first one. It's like, okay, let's build some actual hype around this, because those, I think with the Steve Rogers one, my excitement dwindled. With the Thor one, it did definitely go up a little bit, but not by a crazy amount. But then seeing that X-Men teaser, I was like, whoa, okay, this looks, you've got me back on board here now, Marvel. And then the Wakanda one with Ben Grimm, it didn't do much for me, to be honest. It was just that was just kind of your reminder of like, oh yeah, by the way, these characters are also going to be in the movie. I don't think it did anything really for it.
Yeah, I just don't care about the Wakandans anymore.
I wouldn't say that I think I like the fact that Shuri is returning, and I like the fact that Namor is returning, but they definitely aren't the most interesting. Probably, yeah, you're probably right in that they are the least interesting group to see, but it like that teaser is there to serve the purpose, I suppose, of showing the Fantastic Four. While their movie was not in the MCU, this one is going to be in the MCU, so it's all going to be combined.
Well, it's in the MCU, it's just not in the Sacred Timeline or their universe.
Yeah, it's all these different not interpretations but classifications. Look, it's interesting. I am interested in Doomsday. I think I will watch whatever first trailer they put out just to see something.
You'd have to. But I just think, why did you do Chair Watch, releasing all these names in which most, if not half, of the names in the chairs never even appeared in Avengers movies, and now you confirm Steve Rogers, Chris Evans returning in this teaser, but you don't confirm the others who have yet to be confirmed on whether they will return. Would it be Tom Holland Spider-Man, Benedict Cumberbatch Doctor Strange, Chris Pratt Star-Lord, Brie Larson's what's her face, Scarlet
Captain
Witch,
Marvel.
yeah, that's her, and yeah, like, none of these characters have been confirmed to return. Are they going to return? Are they not? Can you tell us, please? Because if you don't tell us, my expectations are going to strike high, and I will be disappointed if they don't return. And I do have a few issues with the so far confirmed X-Men characters that are returning, because if you put the roster of X-Men characters in front of me right now, I'm pointing out those two men do not belong in the battlefield, because those are seasoned veterans who are at the top of their pillars doing their own actions in the battle, and I'm referring to Magneto and Professor X, whereas the likes of Cyclops is the man on the battleground. He's boots on the ground. He's the leader, and he's the one we're all going to expect to get a redemption arc. But the other characters that are confirmed in the X-Men, Beast and Mystique and Nightcrawler, they just don't strike me as core members of the X-Men that you send off on a mission to save the fucking galaxy. Do you know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, Storm, maybe Jean, Iceman, and yeah, Rogue ought to be on that roster to make it feel more complete. And yeah, that is a team equivalent to an Avengers team, to a Thunderbolts team, to a Fantastic Four team. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
But it does make room for Marston Cyclops to shine brightly.
Yeah, listen, we'll be talking about it obviously in much more depth when it actually comes to it. It's releasing later this year, so it probably we'll have an interesting one to go, because Dune and Avengers are releasing on the same day, so we'll have
Okay, you can't go back now.
Our work cut out for us. That'll be interesting now to see what the where will we release those in our own calendar. Because I know I'll be seeing them. I'll be seeing both of them day one. I'll see Avengers first thing in the morning, and then go see Dune that evening. But we're not here today to talk about Avengers Doomsday. We're here today to talk about 28 years later, the Bone Temple. Going back to what
finally
what you were saying there, I want to go back to what you were saying there about the title. I think that is now an unfortunate thing that this franchise has to deal with, is that they have to have subtitles, because each one so far, 28 days, 28 weeks, and 28 years, each of them they are their own kind of standalone movie, and they take place in the timeline.
It's its own trilogy. Days, weeks, years.
Yeah. The thing though now is that if you want to continue on, you can't push any further past. It has to now, they all have to be 28 years, so everything is going to be this 28, like, it's the 28 franchise, it's not a very easy naming convention. It was for those ones, like, it very easily could have been 28 days, 28 weeks, and we could have had 28 months, and that could have been a trilogy in itself.
You said that again. You have to drop it. 28 months just does not sound right. Do you know what 28 months is? I'll tell you what 28 months is. 28 months is either Sony? So the Netflix produced 8-episode show 28 months later, where it stars Idris Elba, where he returns to play his character from 28 weeks later, and because he is now a name, his character, which was a throwaway nothing in 28 months 28 weeks, is now a main character, not because his character was interesting, but because he's Idris Elba.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that even though 28 weeks later is a sequel to 28 days later, it's a sequel in name and the same world, but it doesn't have any connections really, and it feels as though that's the same way with 28 weeks that's the way it feels with 28 years to both 28 days and 28 weeks. Now though, with 28 years later, the Bone Temple, this is the first time where we have a sequel in the franchise that feels like a direct sequel.
It feels more like a proper spin-off, if I'm gonna be honest.
Spin-off, I would have said a continuation, but spin-off, what elaborate please.
28 years later, the Bone Temple, and yeah, maybe we'll just call it the Bone Temple.
If we call it 28 years, the first one, and this one the Bone Temple, if we differentiate them like that.
This Bone Temple film is 2 short stories slapped into one, and somehow it works. It works very well.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, absolutely. Like this could be, you know what? If it was a limited series, then this, like, Kelson's story is an episode, and the Jimmy's is an episode.
Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal.
Yeah, they're both individual stories within an anthology. It just so happens that there is a connective tissue between the two movies, which is the main character from 28 years later, Spike.
If this was like a BBC show where it was 3 episodes long, first episode is about Ray Fiennes' character, Dr. Kelson, and Samson. T. Lewis Parry, I think his name is. He's up there in what nearly stole the show for this movie. But those two guys, that's episode 1. Episode 2 is led by Jack O'Connell and the Jimmies, and it's supported with the actor who played Spike, Alfie Williams. And then episode 3 is the third act conclusion where everyone comes together. So it's
That's
it's a 3 episode show. So it feels like a proper spin-off, and it's kind of the gateway. It's the bridge to get to the final movie, because we all want to get to the final movie, because we all know why. It's not. It's a third one. It's got to go out with some sort of a bang. Doesn't need to be huge or explosive. It just needs to be good, and we know what is in that third movie. All right?
We'll talk about that later, I think. What we
so.
know to come. I suppose it's would it be fair to talk about this movie then in those stages? Would we, as if it was the limited series, would we talk about Kelson, talk about Jimmy, and then talk about the finale?
Because they don't merge until the third act.
No, definitely not. But I think before we talk about either of those, I'd like to talk about Spike. I was really disappointed in this movie for how little of Spike we get. I really actually liked Alfie Williams in the first one, and I thought that this time around we would have the whole thing from his perspective, and I thought, okay, he's going to be the name, the leading name on this. But I felt as though he was relegated completely to the sides. It was nearly like you'd forget he was there at all, and you could have taken him out of it entirely and just had the story with Kelson, the story with the Jimmies, and then the finale. And yes, the finale would play out ever so slightly different at the end of it, but take Spike out of the story and it doesn't feel as though he had any impact on it whatsoever. The story plays out the same without Spike.
And you know what? That's one reason why I feel like it doesn't feel like a direct or whatever continuation you want to label it. But if that complements what I'm saying, that this Bone Temple film is 2 short stories mashed into one movie, they feel like their own bonus episodes in the 2 28 years later movies we're getting. We're getting 2 movies confirmed. This is a bonus in between. This is if these were released direct at Netflix, we get them when they're released, and then they get released 2 bonus episodes. Euphoria had some bonus episodes in between the COVID periods. Netflix does bonus episodes all the time. And
that's actually a really good way to put it, because if you take out, there's the one sequence where we're introduced to the people at the farmhouse and they're being chased by the infected. You take out that scene, there's almost no infected in this movie. It doesn't feel as though it's a 28 years, it's a 28 franchise movie. It takes place within the 28 universe, the 28 world, but it doesn't feel like the same way that either 28 days, weeks or years felt.
Oh, I'm sure you're only referring to the Jimmy's story, because there's more infected dealings in Kelsey's story.
There's obviously Samson in that, but I mean, he doesn't. There's not like that big action set pieces or chase scenes or anything like that.
He has a great one. He's got 2. He's got his reintroduction into this movie where we see it from his perspective, and then we have the train sequence.
Yeah, I wouldn't even count the train sequence, because it's fully taken place with infected, as opposed to like a chase sequence or anything like that. But I mean, you take out those sequences and the whole rest of the movie plays, and you're taking out maybe 2 to 3 minutes of content. Like it feels the most separated from the 28 franchise.
Well, yeah, because it's 28 years later into the difference, into the world. You could start off any movie where it's set in a post-apocalyptic world where this country is overrun by a deadly virus where people are infected and so on and so forth. A movie called Doomsday, completely separate movie, British movie. Malcolm McDonald was in it at one point. Doomsday, that has infected people in it, a virus. The Maze Runner films, some of them have infected in it. Those are in post-apocalyptic worlds.
No, but what I'm saying is that the 28 years, that whole first act feels very much in line with the other films within the franchise. Yes, it diverts kind of after that. Yeah. But what I'm saying is the Bone Temple as a whole feels completely separate to the other films in the franchise, other than those very, very short sequences, very, very short scenes that are no more than a minute long.
But it's still a post-apocalyptic world, kind of in the quote-unquote zombie genre.
Yeah, it is. We're still following characters that we've met, from the previous ones. But I mean,
but not even that. Like it's still zombies exist. People are the bad guys. We're rooting for the heroes.
They're not zombies, just to say they're infected.
Okay. I already corrected myself saying quote unquote. All right, and this is the second movie in this franchise where a character says zombies.
He did say zombies. I will give you that.
Jimmy said zombies in this one. Eric said zombies in the last one. So shoot me. But what I'm trying to say is this movie it's nearly 3 decades into the future. Whether you have characters in this movie we know already existed or not, and I'm not talking about the 2 direct sequels like Kelson and Alfie and even Jimmy return to reprise their roles. They're still new characters in the 28 years later movie. So
I think
this is still a new movie altogether.
Yeah, I think maybe you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is that this movie, it didn't need those elements that were present in the first ones. It works completely fine being separate from it, you know?
I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That you take out those sequences and it wouldn't feel as though there's anything wrong with the movie. It still takes place within the 28 years franchise, but it feels, and that, I think that's the crux of what I'm trying to say, is that this movie feels the most like a sequel within the franchise, but also the most different because it doesn't carry over the action set pieces, the action sequences from the other movies.
The hyper editing, the fast tracking, cutting together, the rapid filming, even the artistic style that Danny Boyle throws in there, like throwing archival footage of young men going to war, and stuff like that. I think a lot of that difference in this Bone Temple film comes from Nia Da Costa.
Absolutely. It seems as though, and I think that it suits it because, especially with Kelson, this feels like and I know this is going to sound contradictory because this is kind of what 28 years later was. It feels like a much more personal and human story, and that's what 28 years was with Spike and his mom. But it seems like that thread is, we're just going to continue this on. We're going to continue it with other characters.
It's a slower pace. It's just a slower pace. That's all.
Yeah.
Like there's more dialogue in it. You know, like I watched 28 years later in anticipation for this, and there's a lot more action within it. You know. And look, I'll say it now before I forget. No, Aaron Taylor Johnson. Spike's father's not in this, and neither is the father. No, it's not the father. The Holy Land, the island they come from. No, not even mentioned at all. And part of me does like the idea that Spike's father, his flawed man yet ever serviceable protector, he's not there to rescue Spike. Spike has to rescue himself, and I like that development path for Spike as a character, and to allow him to grow and be a little bit changed when he does return home to meet his father. There was no room for Aaron Taylor Johnson to be in this movie, and I accept that. Whatever story that Alex Garland writes for the third one, I really want him to return. He doesn't need to be in the whole movie. I just want to see him return. I want him to play somewhat of a role in it because he's a big enough name. He's a bit of a significant character. They chose not to conclude him with a death in the last movie, so I'd like to see what you could do with him. I kind of like the idea of him maybe eventually venturing out into the world, into the mainland, to find Spike. And in doing so, and I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because we didn't talk about the story yet, but I would like Jamie, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, to find the pregnant woman that escaped the Jimmies.
Yeah, they could pair up together, all right, and that would actually, I didn't think about that at all, but that is a good pairing, all right, that I think would be good.
Yeah, because why not? No loose ends.
I mean, they team up together, and he tells her he's looking for his son, and let's say they come across them, and she then divulges what happened in the barn with the Jimmies, and he was a part of it. And even though Spike didn't take part in it, he was there. He was part of Jimmy's gang. And
did you know who did take part of it? The other Jimmy girl that defected,
Kelly.
What is she still alive? And they cross paths again. So more conflict to come from our heroes within the group who were all rooting for together. You know, it's like Brianna Tart and the Hound fighting all over again.
Well, now that while we're on them, do you want to talk about the Jimmies and that whole storyline?
Yeah, sure. I didn't think this was going to start off with Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal putting a challenge to the death for Spike. I thought when he shook his hand and he said, "Let's be pals," in the end of the last movie, he actually meant it. But like, no, he's still going to force him to fight to the death with one of his gang. And I was waiting to see how they decided to have Spike overpower the guy who was just bigger than him and teasing him and toying with him. And yeah, good move. Jocks him, stabs him, and the guy pulls a knife and he cut an artery and he just bled out. Dumb luck, but it's kind of what you needed to happen because Spike was not going. He had to cower his way out of that fight, you know. Yeah, and rightly done.
The whole concept of the Jimmies, what you said there about like at the end of the last movie that he offered him a handshake, you know, and said, "Let's be friends." I thought that that whole Jimmy group was going to be completely different. I thought it was going to be a situation where Jimmy and his gang, they were going around and they were having lots of fun and they were joking around and Spike really enjoyed it. But there was going to be a level to them where they were doing things that Spike wasn't okay with. And he was like having to come to terms with like, okay, I really like these guys have my back. I get on really well with them and all, but they are doing things that we shouldn't be doing. I thought that was going to be a little bit of the conflict there, as opposed to what we did get, which is entirely like as soon as we're introduced, he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, skip all the way to that part. Skip right to the end of it and show that these guys are ruthless. Ruthless.
Yeah.
And when Spike does kill the guy, one of the Jimmies, Jimmia, an actress who I know from Mayor of Kingstown, she's probably the most, aside from Jimmy Crystal, the most ruthless one. She's the one with the little fairy wings in the back of it, and she's like she's a bit nuts. She grabs Spike's head and prevents him from turning away, and she says, "No, you killed him. You have to watch him die now. That's your entry into our gang." And like you brought this up in the last episode, and you're right to see it. It's ever present here because Spike killed the guy. He takes his place. So now we know these guys are bad news. All right, these Jimmies, and they walk out the building, and I'm counting. Right, there's 1, 2, 3. There's like 7 Jimmies that we need to overcome throughout the movie in order for Spike to escape. And when they exit the building. And then before the Bone Temple credits come up, you just see this overhead shot, and you see one of the Jimmies. It was Jimmia, or Jimina, whatever you want to call her, the crazy one. She says, "Oh, that one's mine," and she runs at the infected and kills him. Kills the infected willingly and actively, and enjoys doing it. This movie, this franchise, for the first time ever, portrays human characters, killing infected as a sport, as fun, as confident. You know, they run towards the infected. They don't flinch. They've no fear. How the fuck those characters met that level of temperament to dealing with infected? No clue.
See, it's always been, I think, a little bit of it's a trope, I suppose, of the zombie genre, the apocalypse genre, is that you have these monsters, these infected, and then you have humans, and oh my god, the humans were the monsters the whole time. They're worse than the actual monsters. We got it in 28 Days, where we get the military, nearly raping the 2 girls. And then it seems as though this time around we get it with the Jimmies, and they're the ones that are they're doing in a lot of ways worse things than what the infected would do. The infected, they have no control over it. They are just attacking and biting and spewing up blood and stuff like that, and it's just what they do. They have no control over it. They're as we come to learn throughout the film, they are in a level of psychosis. They don't know what they're doing. Whereas the Jimmies are actively inflicting pain and hurt and like ripping the skin off people. Like, it was actually vulgar. It was disgusting to see, and it's all in the name of doing it for, as Jimmy Crystal says, old Nick, like doing it for Satan, and he is very much just the worst person in this world, and he is continuing to instead of making the world better and doing good things and trying to create some kind of a nice life to live, it's like, okay, this world is shit. Let's just make it worse. Let's if we're gonna live in shit, we might as well roll around in it. And that, I think that's why probably there's so few of the infected in this film, is because we don't need them, because we have the Jimmies there, and they can provide us with the gruesome destruction that they're doing to these people in the barn. These people that took them in, fed them, and then all of a sudden they're just going to...
But first, we're obviously going to have to kill you first.
Yeah, just like, there was no... I think I was shocked by the fact that Sir Jimmy Crystal had no redeeming qualities whatsoever, because I was going in, like I said, into that thing where Spike is going to be kind of indoctrinated and like, oh, this is really cool, he's really looking out for us, he's like a mentor type, and then something will happen where he is doing this and he's tying them up or something like that, and then he's unsure about it. But like, there's no redeeming qualities to Jimmy or any of the other Jimmies, any of the fingers, really.
Not to insult anyone, but in the hands of a lesser director, this movie, and rightly so, it's probably what we've come to expect, would juxtapose Jimmy Crystal as a father mentor figure to Spike, and Spike would like that. He'd be rebellious against his father's wishes, and he'd go all out, and he'd think, yeah, this is the best big brother ever. Yeah. And then he'll come to his senses to the point where the plot thickens and he needs to turn tail and run because he knows Jimmy Crystal's bad news. But no, he's afraid of him from the fucking start. Like, when Spike comes back to say, I'm sorry, I had to kill her, and because she fought me. And he was willing to kill him then and there had it not been for Jimmy Inc., who tells her name Kelly later on. She says she saves Spike by staying face, like she doesn't. She says, I saw Saint Nick. I saw old Nick.
Not Saint Nick. Saint Nick is Santa Claus. Old Nick is Satan. Spelled very similar for dyslexics. It's the same letters, just in a different order.
Don't disclose my this.
I didn't say you. I just said dyslexics.
Let me put this out to you. There are a lot of scenes, if not all scenes, in this movie, right? But let's just focus on the one story, which is the entirety of the Jimmies until they merge with Kelson in the third act. A lot of these scenes, what did the Jimmies do in this movie? All right, we know what they do and what they're capable of and what their plan forever to Kingdom Come is. But this movie, what did they do? Indoctrinate Spike into their group. They are revealed to have infiltrated the home of a happy surviving small family, and they start murdering them very gruesomely and violently and without remorse or care in the barn. And that's a long period. That's a long sequence. To the point where even they give one of the family members the option to kill one of their Jimmies and take their spot. And that's a whole extended sequence. And that ends with not ending so well for the Jimmies. And after that, where did it go? Start to monitor Kelson and his site. And that's when they start to infiltrate. That timeline of events is not very long. And in the hands of another director, that timeline would have been portrayed and displayed on screen much, much shorter. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, in the hands of another director, they would have decreased the timeline of the torture, decreased the timeline of the comeuppance they get in the barn, where some of the Jimmies actually die in the fire, and in general, just other timelines. Like, they didn't need to indoctrinate Spike into the group. They could have started this movie off with him already being in the group and just not have that other member. But they wanted to add something in there for Spike having to kill the guy for the first time and foreshadow that one of the Jimmies, Kelly, is not that bad, and just show the brutalness of Sir Jimmy Crystal. But yeah, the timeline of events in this movie for both stories is drastically increased and spread out. And yet it still is very well paced to the point where we're not bored.
I feel as though the stories take place over different periods of time. I feel like the sequence with Ralph Fiennes takes place over the course of about a month, whereas the sequence with the Jimmies takes place over about a week.
You're Dunkirking this now.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was... Yeah, that's the exact comparison I was making in my own head, that it's a condensed timeline for that, because
Yes.
it feels as though the amount of times that we go back and forth to Ray Fiennes and Samson and all their meetings and stuff like that, it feels like it's longer. Whereas the Jimmy stuff feels like it's like maybe he met the Jimmy, like take it like this, okay? The Ray Fiennes stuff starts from the day that Spike left him at the end of 28 years, which included Spike going back to the community and then leaving again, and then up until he met the Jimmys. And maybe that was a week, maybe that was 2 weeks. Whereas the Jimmy sequence, all the Jimmy stuff, Jimmy Crystal stuff, takes place from the very end of 28 years.
Yeah.
So it feels as though there's maybe 2 weeks between at the end of 28 at the end of 28 years for Spike to go around and do his own bits, and that's also the Ray Fiennes stuff is taking place in that time as well.
Actually, I do need to clarify. At the end of 28 years later, after he returned the baby, the caption comes up 28 days later, and that's when Spike is roasting a fish. And then
does it say that? I didn't even remember that. So yeah, in my mind, that makes perfect sense then, that essentially that whole time with Samson, that's the 28 weeks that Ray Fiennes has with Samson, and then
28 days.
The 28 days, yeah. And then the whole Jimmy Crystal stuff takes place over maybe about a week. Like, is he meeting the Jimmys at the end of the movie, and then later that day he's getting his indoctrination, his induction there. Then they're off, and the next day they come across the camp. It's that night that they do, or not the camp, but the group. That night they're in the barn, and then the next
Spike's
day,
head is a little bit more shaved because he's wearing the wig. So I'm sure some time has passed between killing that guy and being at the house because his head is shaved.
Yeah, I mean that could have taken place the night before. Obviously, we're not 100% sure. It's not clear on the timeline. But
no, it's loose canon. It's loose canon. It's canon we know happened. It's up to us to interpret the timelines.
Yeah,
but I do like your Dunkirk theory. I like creating theories unnecessarily, but I was so delighted that we didn't have to wait until the climax of the movie to start seeing some of the Jimmys die. And to see oh man, I'm telling you, I was counting. when
how many left? How many left?
Yeah, because one down is one less difficult for Spike, and the most brutal one, the finger, aside from Jimmy Crystal, one of the more well-known actress of the group, I would say. She's worked with Jeremy Renner in Mare Kingstown. She was in Haunting of Venice. Yeah, the Hercule Poirot one.
I don't remember her name, to be honest.
Female character 3 of the suspect group. But what you make of her? Like she was not shy from causing torture onto people.
That's the thing, is that none of them are. There's no good Jimmy, and even with Jimmy Inc., the one who he ends up with at the end, right?
Kelly.
The only reason that she saves Spike in that moment is because she thinks that she's found Satan. And it's like, okay, let's bring him to Satan. Let's bring him to old Nick, and he can judge him for himself. Like, yes, she saves him in that moment, but to bring him to what they think is the physical embodiment of Satan to be judged later on down the road. Like, it's not a save, it's a postponement. There's no Jimmys at all that have any redeeming qualities. It's not like he has an ally in it.
But she does tell Spike, what were you going to do? Where were you going to go after she killed the Jimmy? Because she's trying to teach him, like, this is as good as it gets. You know, she's made peace with the fact that she has to kill innocent people horribly in order to survive, and that's all she's doing. So I don't know.
But that doesn't even feel like she's an ally.
I know it doesn't. Like, I believed she'd give up Spike if it meant saving her own skin. But I feel like she was always foreshadowed, whether she was conscious about it or not, whether she knew Danny Boyle or Alex Garland was writing her character. Okay, so I need to show empathy for this Spike character, and I have to show signs that I am going to turn tail and help save the day and defeat the villain and that type of stuff. By the way, that Jimmy Inc. is she was in Solo, and she was in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and she was in Willow.
Yeah, I did recognize her for them.
So
without her
good.
red curly hair.
Yeah, good actress. But Erin Kellyman, I think her name is. But Jimena, because they were torturing the family, and that your man to fight off her, and he chose her because she said it herself. You chose me because you thought I was weak, but she was.
Do you know who she is?
Who's she?
She's Harley Quinn to Jimmy Crystal's Joker.
I think it's more like she's Bellatrix Lestrange to his Voldemort, because
Yeah, the one that
Same
can play the same. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you said I said Joker and Harley Quinn, and you said, well, what if they were the Joker and Harley Quinn instead? You know, like it's that trope, you know, of the evil bad guy and the girlfriend. So, she is very much the I'm gonna pretend to be the weak, feeble one, and I'm actually even more sadistic than Jimmy Crystal. I'm even worse than him, really.
But the pregnant woman, his missus, was upstairs hiding in the barn.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what are they going to do with this character? You can't reveal yourself, you're going to get caught. But he had a fighting chance, so she dropped the hook. And I feel like this would be how Danny Boyle would have directed this scene. Her response in getting her head impaled by a fucking hook, because she's just the shot lingered on her face, on his POV, looking up at her, and we're just stuck.
For a long time.
We're stuck watching her mumble words as if she's having an episode due to a brain aneurysm, because she's like muttering out words that don't make sense. Hence the hook in the back of her skull, and I love that. Yes, the worst one. That's not the leader, has just been taken out. And then even more so, the guy who has how many cuts got in his body with the threat of his dick being skinned off, reaches the fucking gas cylinder and starts to light the barn on fire, and they get another one down and they burn him to fucking crisp. And he takes an arrow to the chest for good measure, for his heroism. And I like Jimmy Crystal's reaction in this. It just shows how fucking pouty and whiny he is when he doesn't get his own way. He felt so empowered and in charge with such high command and authority that his father, the devil himself, bestows his divine power to him, and that he's all knowing and all wise, even though he knows he's just bullshitting his way through the apocalypse to get others to do his bidding. But when he's got one up on him and he doesn't succeed, he just fucking screams out of anger like a little whiny bitch. And sometimes that Kylo Ren isms can add to the type of villain you're creating. You know, you don't all need to be Darth Vader. You can be Kylo Ren. You know, you can win. You can whinge and bitch and cry about how you're not getting your own way, despite how fucking vile you are as a human being.
Like, Jimmy doesn't have anything to hold over any of the fingers other than the other fingers. Do you know? Like, he doesn't have any special powers. He doesn't have any object or anything like that the others need to stay with him. He's just a cult leader, and he just has all of the other fingers indoctrinated. So the only thing that's keeping them there is their fear of leaving, you know? So he essentially, when he doesn't get his own way, because he is so used to getting his own way, because he has 7 people to do his bidding for him, and normally the outcome is that they are going to be the ones on top, or if he loses a finger, guess what? Somebody else is there to take their place. And this is one of the only times probably where he doesn't get his own way, and so he is, you're right, just a petulant child screaming and giving out and throwing his toys out the pram.
I do like the fact when he was shown Kelson's sight by Kelly, and he's like, "Did you know about this? Did you know your father was living here?" Referring to Kelson as father. Oh. Yeah, I had an idea he was here. I just didn't know it was exactly here. But yes, he has a castle in the Highlands as well. It's like, yeah, proper bullshitter. He's that guy who the drink the Kool-Aid guy. He got his followers to drink the Kool-Aid of poison. Yeah, like that's what he is. I do like that. A character like Jimmy Crystal leaving his realm to enter Kelson's realm. A character who we know to be. He's in his own little movie, his own little world, and like we see Jimmy Crystal invading the Kelson's world, Kelson's movie. I was like, you do not belong here. This is the merging of two short stories that, if you watch objectively, do not take place in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, he's invading his sanctuary. He's invading his private space. That, like, I think Ralph Fiennes is such an interesting actor to get to play this role, because, I mean, like, we literally said it. You said it there. He's, Jimmy Crystal is Voldemort, and Ralph Fiennes plays Voldemort. He's so known. He's so known for playing these iconic villainous roles, and even so that he's dressed up in the iodine to look red. That the characters in the film confuse him for the devil. But yet you go and talk to him, and he's surrounded by skulls and bones and everything, like scary iconography. But he is the absolute sweetest man, probably within the 28 years franchise, or the whole 28 franchise. Like, he's just nothing but a nice guy.
Very humble.
Will go out of his way to do anything for you. He is a doctor at the end of the day, and, like, he's just happy. He's happy pottering about, I suppose, doing his own medical research while listening to Rio, or, like, singing off Rio in his mind and playing his old records. He could not be further from some of the other characters that Ralph Fiennes has played in his career. And so I think that playing against the type is fantastic. I think that a lot of people have been outcrying, that they can't wait for Cillian Murphy back in this franchise. After this movie, I'm like, I want more Ralph Fiennes in this franchise. For me, he is the draw to this franchise. I want to see Ralph Fiennes in any capacity going forward.
What did you make of the scene to have together where Jimmy Crystal is saying, he's actually believing, is this real? Are you the devil? Like, he said his heart was pumping out of his chest because he just wasn't sure himself, even though he fed his bullshit to his followers. He never believed it. But when he's seeing something like this, he's like approaching very slowly, and he's being very, like, conscious about it. He's going to talk his way into his presence before he can be comfortable about it. And, oh no, you're just this humble, sweet old man.
Yeah, I mean, like...
And it's after that, that's when he threatens him. He threatens to fucking spill his guts out if he doesn't do what he's told.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He's been feeding bullshit for years, and this is the first time where he gets to taste his own bullshit, and he's like, oh shit, is this actually the devil? Because you have to remember, Jimmy has been living in a post-apocalyptic world for close to 30 years now, and is on a daily basis surrounded by what are essentially monsters and zombies. So demons. So to see what could possibly be the devil surrounded by bones and skulls and devilish iconography, I'm sure for a moment he did think, you know what, maybe this is the devil actually. So I fully believed that he believed, yes, this was a possibility. I really liked this scene though, because it feels as though it's the only time we get a genuine look at who Jimmy is, and when they sit down and they just have a conversation, they're just two people, and he's not putting on the bravado, and he's not putting on the threats or anything like that.
No, he's being Jimmy the boy. He's being who he really is in front of Kelson, because he's got no witnesses and he's got no consequences for it.
Yeah, and he's and I wonder at what point did he realize, okay, I can use this man to my advantage now, and I can not only convince these followers to follow me 100% blindly, but also we can go further and we can do more and we can expand upon what we've already been doing.
Well, as soon as he knew he wasn't the devil. As soon as he knew he wasn't as soon as I started to interrupt, but as soon as he knew he wasn't the devil, he's like, "Oh, you're just another man I can kill."
Yeah.
Okay, but I can use your environment and your setup to my advantage. And
he's come across the golden goose, and he's not happy with getting one egg. He's going to take the goose with him, and he's going to get eggs forever. That's essentially kind of how he sees Kelson in this.
Where the fuck did you hear that saying? That's a great saying.
Just off the top of the dome, man.
Man. Yeah. Reserve that there now. Use it again.
I will.
But Kelson doesn't refuse. He doesn't know Jimmy's a psychopathic, homicidal murderer, torturist. But he might not be the first time he was threatened in this world. So he He obliges. He does more than obliges.
See, the thing is, I think,
Yeah.
and we get it a little bit earlier in the film, that Kelson doesn't care anymore. He doesn't have a reason to go on living, really. He has it a little bit earlier in the film where he, he's with Samson, and Samson is keeps coming back to him because he seems to like the morphine and the trance-like state that Kelson can put him in. And he sat there with him, and he takes the morphine himself, and he lays down in the grass, and when he wakes up and he pats his head and he's like, "Oh, I'm still alive." He has a line there about like his work is done. He's completed the memento mori. He's completed the bone temple, and he doesn't have anything else to live for. And then he's essentially
he's adding more risks to his life now. He takes the morphine halfway through after Samson's had his. He's gonna rest up, and Samson's right there next to him, and he can just tear him to shreds. And Samson actively got up and walked away, without doing so.
So, I think that when Jimmy threatens him, yes, he does have some level of like he is obviously interested in his thingy with Samson, his
experiment to
experiments
make
with them. That's what it is. Had he
cure.
said did Samson say moon before Jimmy had come? Because he did. Okay, so because he was going to kill him. He was going to kill Samson. He was going to inject him with something lethal, and he says moon, and that's what ticks him over. But I think generally, as a whole, he doesn't have anything else to live for. Now, the only thing he has to live for is Samson. So I think that's why he's so obliging, is because it's like kind of one of those situations like, what do I have to lose? You know?
Oh, sure, he's fucking dancing with Samson, listening to his music. Like holding his hand, brave in the fear to put his hands on Samson to, like, dude, this guy vomits on you. You are infected.
But I think that's it goes to show you what loneliness can do to a person. You put yourself in those risks. You don't care about yourself anymore. You want to experience connection again.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, the only connection that he can find is with this lumbering infected person that could snap him in half.
I know loneliness can change one's mind, but like, what are you going to do? You're going to stay in the raft, or you're going to go retrieve Wilson, a fucking football you made a face out of? But yeah, that scene between Jack O'Connell and Ray Fiennes, where Jimmy Crystal he's opening up and he talks about his father a little bit, and I kind of like that bit because that's our introduction of Jimmy in the prologue of 28 Years Later. In the Vicar, and I like that he acknowledges that's where he started out. Not everyone is born bad.
Yeah, he was. If anything, he was the opposite to that. Like, he was brought in by what is supposed to be the pillar of goodness within the world, which is priests. And as we know, priests not always the greatest of guys.
It's kind of funny to see a conversation between these two men who come from different realms of the universe.
Yeah,
and one of them is an atheist and the other one is religious, and yet it's not the obvious one who's bad and the obvious one who's good.
Well, when you say atheist, do you mean Satanist? Or no, sorry, you mean
I said atheist and religious.
Yeah. But not in the traditional sense for religion. Yeah,
no, but you gotta make your own.
Yeah.
What did you make of? Well, yeah, just with Kelson then, with Ray Fiennes' character, the Billy name of this movie, who
I loved
by the way,
I loved Kelson's story, I think, more than Jimmy's. I think that I just was so interested in that, and like I don't know if anyone would remember this now. If you listen back to the 28 Years Later, I thought
I did.
You did. One of the most important scenes in that 28 Years Later movie is there's two. So one where when Aaron Taylor Johnson and Spike are out hunting and they come across the body that's hung upside down, which now very clearly is he was a victim of the Jimmies, it seems.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, he Aaron Taylor Johnson, he really emphasizes the fact that there's no one in there. They have no soul anymore. They're monsters. They're undead. And then later on in the film, when we have the sequence with the the pregnant infected, and she has the baby. And in that moment, she's not infected anymore. She seems like she's just a woman who's having a child. And I'm like, okay, that's what it is. That's the crux of this franchise now, is that these people, they can be saved. There's something there. They're not completely gone. They can be cured in some way. Like, there's still people in there. And then in this film, we get the most amount of new information, I suppose, regarding the infection. Because whilst we have some in 28 Weeks Later, where we have the mom who is infected, she's just a carrier of the virus, but she's not actually under the infected's, the psychosis that they're under.
That was 28 years ago. We can forget about that.
This time around, we get a very, very short, limited sequence of the POV from the infected. We get it from Samson's, of what he sees when he looks at a non-infected person, and he essentially sees a demon or like a ghoul or something like that.
A monster.
He sees a monster, and it's like, oh, the infected are protecting themselves almost. It's like they are under some kind of spell where they can, everything that they see is twisted and contorted, and they need to go and they're the aggressor in the situation. They're not going to like run away to defend themselves. They're going to attack it. And then as the movie progresses and Dr. Kelson gets to do his experiments on Samson, and we find that, oh, there is something going on, and I don't know exactly what the terminology he uses, but essentially what he
a psychosis
comes down to is that there is some kind of brain fog, and they're under a psychosis. And if this was the world that we left behind 28 years ago, I would say we can treat psychosis. And so he's able to prepare a concoction of medicine that he gives to Samson, and slowly but surely that seems to bring him out of the haze, the psychosis, the hallucinations that he's having. And we get this fantastic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you're building it up perfectly.
I'm
fucking interrupting you in your flow, but I just gotta say, all right, it's only January, but my favorite line of 2026, it's a short list. I've got a ticket.
I think he says I don't have a ticket.
Did he say I don't have a ticket?
I think he says I don't. Sorry, I don't have a ticket.
What did you? Well, do you remember your reaction when Samson, the infected monster, the alpha, who was nothing more than a thing you run away from and hope is a villain to defeat as a second nature altogether. And now
he was the talking point of the first movie, where everyone went, I can see why he's an alpha, all right, because his dick was swinging around the place. And now here he is, and he is essentially the first cured infected that we've ever seen.
Because they actually do allow some time where he's wandering the woods, you know, and he actively covered himself up. He actively covered himself in like a drape of sorts to, you know, conceal that thing.
Yeah, and when he goes and he eats the berries, and not only does he eat the berry, but he wipes his fingers on the cloth.
Yeah,
like I was like, oh, it's such a great, like, that's such a human thing. It's like, oh, he's not infected anymore.
But he is doing those things subconsciously. He doesn't realize he's doing them, and then he wanders through the train, and it's like he's getting flashes back from an early childhood memory that might mean nothing to him. He's becoming very delirious. And what does he do next? He sits the fuck down. He sits down. And then we get the flashback scene where we see him as a child. Probably, I wonder if this is a time where the outbreak happened. And did he grow up to be a man and then get infected? Did he get infected as a child and then grew up? I don't know how it works. But he was a young boy at once. And he's looking up at the ticket lady who works on the train. I don't know what they're called. And I like the editing where it's cutting back and forth, where in the past she's saying, a ticket please, and he's looking back at her as a child. But we know it's in the mind frame that he's currently in now, while infected, but going through the motions of overcoming the fog, overcoming the psychosis. And then he responds as if he is that child again. And he says the line, a fucking infected talks back. And then all of a sudden he reacts to where he is, and then all of a sudden a bunch of random infected lingered into the train following after him, because they could sense he's not infected anymore.
And it's not. It's one of those ones where every other time the infected have seen a human, they chase after them, but he's in this weird state where he's neither.
He's in between.
He's infected, but he's not. He's neither, and he's both at the same time. And so they're cautious. They're walking in. They're like curious about him almost, and it's like, all right, we need something to just confirm that we should attack him. You know.
They're staring at him and they're fucking drooling all over him, like the blood's pouring out of their mouth, and they're like growling and hissing at him. It's like, as soon as they know that he's not infected, that's their green light to go and just chase after him and attack him, because it doesn't even matter if they know they're going to die. They know that he's not infected anymore, and then he's not. He's still in his transition phase. But we see Samson take on a fucking swarm of them in this this concealed small space claustrophobic train cart, and he's using everything to his advantage to kill them and throw them over the chairs and smash them through the glass, and to the point where they're all biting him again, and he's continuing to get infected by blood being splattered all over to him, or this, that and the other, where he's getting clawed and bit, and he still decimates the lot of them. And he overcomes them all. And Samson still continues in his transition to overcome his infection. And I'm glad we get that sequence as opposed to saving the monster for the real monsters at the end. We don't get this. Like I said, in the hands of a obvious director making this story, they would have the script where fucking Kelson pulls out one last card from his sleeve and releases Samson, and it's Samson who, kills all the Jimmys and kills Sir Jimmy Crystal, and then and that action is taken advantage of for our heroes and Spike and Caddy to escape. I'm glad that's not what they did.
No,
our characters saved themselves.
Talk about the final sequence then. The performance of a lifetime for what I think the performance of a lifetime for both Dr. Kelson and Ralph Fiennes.
I think Ralph Fiennes been waiting to do something like this.
Yeah, so do I. It's there's no ego in it. There's no like, I'm going to look foolish, I'm going to look silly. It's like, this is what the scene calls for, and I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to give it 100%.
This feels, in some ways, this is beneath Ralph Fiennes to do something like this. And yet, because he does this, he not only makes it cool,
he elevates it up to his level.
He does elevate. He doesn't stoop down to their level. He rises above it. He brings it up. Ralph Fiennes is a theatrical actor. He feels Shakespearean. He's akin to Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. Ralph Fiennes is. Magneto, anyone? I don't know. We've seen the posters where Ralph Fiennes was done up in the white makeup and the black eyes, and he's like all maniatic. And I'm thinking,
what gets him to that level?
Yeah, like, how does this humble, sweet man turn into that? It's the show he's putting on for Jimmy Crystal.
Yeah,
and he went above and beyond to put a show on for him.
Yeah, blowing cocaine in their faces, the music, the fire, everything. I think what I really like about it is, like, it's very easy for Ralph Fiennes to put on this performance. But what you have to remember is, yes, it's Ralph Fiennes putting on the performance, but it's Dr. Kelson putting on the performance. When he gets up there at the end, after he's done the dance, after the music, and he has to pretend to be Satan, it's not Ralph Fiennes pretending to be Satan, it's Ralph Fiennes playing Dr. Kelson, who has to pretend to be Satan. Like, it's levels within levels, and I think that he does such a good job. And it's the kindness of Dr. Kelson that unfortunately is the downfall, where he tries to save Spike. If he had done nothing and just let them leave, he would have lived. And unfortunately, it's not. It's the downfall. And I hate Jimmy so much for it. Where it's that motion that he does, where it's like, he's not even the devil. If he was the devil, could I do this? And he just stabs him, and it's like, it's just so quick, and it's like, it's a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing.
Yeah,
where there's no.
Because he approaches them staggeringly a little, and he just leans in and pulls back away again, just to add a certain amount of distance between them. He's like the cart narc. He's always maintaining a certain same amount of distance, whether he's being chased or whether he's chasing after them. Yeah. And by this point, there's only like, how many Jimmys left on this roster? Like, there's very few. Like,
Jimmy Spike, we've Jimmy Kelly, we've a girl and a boy.
So we just have to get rid of them two. And I liked the plan Kelson was concocting. Is that how you say that word? Concocting?
Yeah.
It was here in this scene, all right? And fucking Jimmy Crystal was, he was gloating. He was bragging. He disclosed to Kelson here that I murder people gruesomely, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I want you to tell my dumb followers, who will do everything and anything I say, that it's okay to do it, and they'll do it without any backchat. Like, if Kelson, pretending to be Satan, delivers a command, Jimmy Crystal will reinforce that command with his little cheek talk and says, so you hear that? You fucking better do it.
Yeah.
And he's taking advantage of it, saying, what are the commands, Father? And he's saying, yes, Father, we'll not overstay our welcome. We'll just stay for these quick demands. Because, part of me is thinking, good, you're being accommodating to Kelson by getting the fuck out of his home after threatening him, after he put on a good show for you. But you're also saying that because you are trying to, con your own following here. But
you don't want any more variables in this situation. It's like, you've gotten what you wanted, so you're out.
Yeah, but the commands like grow your numbers, keep killing, and do so whatever. And then all of a sudden Kelson notices Spike. And then he says, I have one more command. What? No, you don't. What is it you're talking about? And yeah, it's a great plan. You have... Jesus Christ died for his Father. He was crucified on the cross. Get to it. And I like that he's not even hesitating anymore. He's like, and who the fuck do you think is going to bend me to that cross? Your followers, who will do every command. It's a great plan. It would have been great to see, all right, especially with Kelly, who was very eager. Jimmy says, you're edging to get one at me there, Kelly Inc. Mm-hmm. And she takes out the boy and the girl really quick. Yang, not a bother. Stabby, stab.
Yeah.
Had
Kelson been smart, he would have just asked for Spike. It's like, leave the boy with me. He stays with me.
I thought that's what he was going to do. I require a sacrifice, which he does say, leave me the boy. And I thought, there's a chance he would have, stayed. But then maybe Kelly was the one who was going to make a bad decision and turn bad and shit like that. But no, that's not the case at all. And you know what? No need to fucking beat around the bush, fodle around it. Stab him. Mm-hmm. Spike overcomes his fear and he just stabs Jimmy off screen, and he's already taken out like that because he's not a threat physically. He's not.
Jimmy's not a threat physically. No, it's just like I said earlier. He doesn't hold anything over the others other than fear itself. So yeah, he's not a physical threat. The only way that it could be a physical threat would be the fact that he is just bigger than him,
That's it. What did you make of his demise then?
You know what? Like I said earlier, there was absolutely zero redeeming qualities in Jimmy Crystal. He wasn't likable. He was just a bastard, and so he deserved everything he got and more. And more.
He says the line again, oh Father, why have you forsaken me? He says that again, and he's just left up hanging at the cross upside down, and just I didn't even need a little scary attack for an effect to come up there. I just leave him there. I can take it that he dies there.
Yeah.
And sweet Kelson passes away not before Samson returning, and he says thank you. And I bet Samson's going to put his bones somewhere.
I quite like the fact that, even though I don't like the fact that Kelson died, I think that it's a good aspect that we know as an audience that there is a possibility out of this scenario, out of this world, out of this infection, but that's not the route that we are taking with the franchise. That it's not going to be that we're working towards getting a cure to all of the infected.
It's an inconsequential thread to the main story, and the main story is just Spike learning how to live and becoming.
I think it's survival. Yeah,
survival to live to survive.
Exactly. It's to live. It's memento mori, and what is it to remember? Remember, it's what Kelson says in 28 Years Later is remember to live. And that is probably what the crux of the whole story is. We get that in the final cameo as well as a character who we'll talk about now in a minute, but he we are introduced to him, and what's he doing? He's just living his life.
I thought this is exactly how we're going to see Cillian Murphy return. 28 years later into this franchise. What can you do? He's nearly a new character altogether. It's more so significant that it's Cillian Murphy as opposed to Cillian Murphy playing Jim, who played the character 30 years ago.
Yeah, he's now made a name for it. It's Oscar winner Cillian Murphy here in this movie. Yeah.
But he whatever they're going to write his character into for the third film, you nearly could just make him a completely new character, and you don't need to know that he played him before. He was just
absolutely 30, if you just watch,
he's just 30 years younger.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You could absolutely just watch 28 years later, The Bone Temple, and then whatever the third one is called, and Jim essentially is just, it's Cillian Murphy is here. And then years later you go, 28 days later, let's watch that. And you're like, oh, wait, hold on a minute. The guy from the third movie was actually the original character. You're absolutely right. Like, he could just be playing anyone. Like, he's had 28 years of development. I'm not expecting the same guy who we met in that hospital room.
Were you the same person 30 years ago? No, don't think so.
The person I was 30 years ago, I was -1. So, absolutely. Yeah, I was very different.
Yeah. I like how they executed this ending, right? Because Kelly and Spike walk off. Happy ending, into the night. You know, the hero died, but so did the villain. Cut to the little farmhouse, little hut, where I thought, Jim is now a family man. He never left Britain. He has a daughter who, in case you didn't notice, she's not white. So the mother has got to be Naomi Harris.
If she's still around, we wait and see if she's still around.
I think she can still be around.
Yeah.
I think a bonus to getting Cillian Murphy returning to now greenlit third entry of the 28 years later trilogy. You can add upon that and build upon that by adding Naomi Harris as his wife. And I like how he just enters the kitchen with a cup of tea or a coffee. And
it's no fanfare or anything like that. It's just we've just arrived here on a day.
Yeah, there's no like tracking behind over his shoulder. There's no pan up to his face. There's no like grand entrance for this iconic character. No, it's just Cillian Murphy entering his house just exactly how he would in his own home in Ireland, where he now lives because he wanted to bring his kids home. Fucking Cillian Murphy just I know this movie this movie was stolen by Ralph Fiennes and a little bit of Jack O'Connell, who I think we didn't really mention. It's Jack O'Connell having a great year again, playing a villain. A great villain. And the actor who plays Samson, I have to give a shout out to him. I think he was great. He was impactful. And Cillian Murphy, he's just a great bonus to have right now. And then him and his daughter, after a history lesson, hear something, you know what to do, and they go out to the top of a hill and they see Spike and Kelly running from a bunch of infected, but we don't see Spike and Kelly's perspective of them running away. We don't even see them start to be chased by infected. They're just in the middle of running and trying to survive, and Cillian Murphy sees them through the scope, and then his daughter says, should we help them? Of course we do. Come on, run off screen, see you in the third movie.
See you in the third one, yeah. And we get the classic score as well then playing.
The classic score. Do you know what? This score that played at the end of the Bone Temple was the score I wanted to hear when we knew this franchise was coming back. I thought we were going to get it at the end of 28 Years Later, but no, that was a different score that played at the opening of 28 Days Later when Jim was traversing London streets and no one was there. He missed the start of the apocalypse and that score was playing there. It's the score that played at the end of 28 Days Later that played at the end of 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. And I love that score so fucking much, I didn't stand up. I had to listen to it until it got to a certain point. And it felt right. It fitted perfectly for this. Because it ended on a cliffhanger with negative consequences in motion. And this movie has to start off with either continuing that or immediately after that. I don't know how you can continue that, but yeah, like that's what I'd expect. And
I would say that the next one would open with that sequence, but now we'll get it from Spike and Kelly's perspective. And they're running down that hill, and then that's when they bump into Jim and his daughter. So we'll get that sequence, but just from the other perspective, and we'll continue on from there.
28 years later, and the Bone Temple are plot-driven, heavily. What's the plot for this one, the third one? What's the point of a plot?
I mean, you couldn't have predicted either of the plots for either of these films.
No.
For either 28 years or the Bone Temple. So it's not something that I'm going to even try and predict for this next one. What I will say, though, is I'm so glad that Alex Garland wrote all three at the same time. That it's not like the first one was made and the second one was immediately made after. And it's like, oh, well, hopefully the third one gets greenlit. And then, let's say, like now, it's been greenlit. And they go, okay, let's start writing it. And now we're waiting longer and longer. And we're just waiting on the production of it now, and then it'll come out. Hopefully, I mean, could we see it as a 2027 release?
I think it's going to be a 2028.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. 2028.
I didn't even think about that.
You didn't cop it, but now that you've said it, it absolutely makes sense. If you can't continue on doing different variations of the title, you're going to release the final film within this franchise in the year 2028. That just makes sense.
It does make sense. Like, take your time with it. Put it in
good.
the shelf. Put it in the shelf if you want. Hey, look, and then I like that it's Danny Boyle returning to direct it again. I think he'll do good. I think the plot, as right now, can only be as basic as our survivors trying to get back to the Holy Island, Spike's home.
Maybe so. Yeah, maybe Spike tells them about the island and he wants to bring everyone there. You'll be safe there.
Jim seems to be happy enough where he's living, and I think that has to get terribly overrun by infected for it to be uninhabitable.
I mean, they're literally being run by infected right now. So, there's a possibility.
I think Naomi Harris ought to be in the movie. I think if not running, and I do, like I said, I want to see Aaron Taylor Johnson return. If he doesn't run into the pregnant woman who escaped the barn, which, you left her open-ended, I think she is due a return. Maybe he runs into Naomi Harris.
Possibly.
That's an interesting one. The other girl who survived, Hannah, in 28 Days Later, she's not an actress anymore, so you can say she passed or she left, or you can recast her, do what you want. I'd like to see Spike and Kelly return because, Kelly anyway, but Spike is the avatar. Spike is the character who is going to be the survivor in the end,
Yeah.
And I think we've a fucking winner. And you know what, David? And I mean this. I really mean this. We haven't gotten a trilogy of this yet. And yet, I feel like this trilogy is already, or is in the makings of being a better trilogy than the Star Wars sequel trilogy we got.
Yeah, that's an easy comparison to make, Brian. No one's arguing with you on that.
Really? Okay, cool. But, same writer for all three. Likely 2 directors out of 3. A consistent character who's the avatar for us, the audience, and each movie progressing its 2 to 3 main stars in them, So, we're winning. We're the winners here for this. And you know what? It's just nice that these movies are good again.
Brian, I'm pretty happy with that level of talking about the Bone Temple. Have you got a recommendation before we let these lovely people go?
I am going to recommend Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's new Netflix movie, The Rip, featuring Sasha Calle. Don't know, haven't seen it yet. I just know I'm going to watch it because it's the next Ben Affleck and Matt Damon movie, and they realize, hey, we're getting older and we never really worked together all that much and we're best friends. Maybe we should do that. And what
was the last thing they worked in together?
Air.
Oh yeah. Oh, and then the last Duel before that.
Yeah, and then Good Will Hunting was before that. So I think their Air felt like the right movie for them to work together on. The Rip seems to be another good option, just in a different genre, And it stars Stephen Yeun. It stars Tiana Yuan, who was married to Leonardo DiCaprio in One Battle After Another.
Yeah.
And Sasha Calle, Supergirl, who's not Supergirl anymore, and Kyle Chandler, who's now Green Lantern. Oh, and Scott Akins, underrated Scott Akins. Yeah. So
I'll look out for it.
It's out now. It's out right now. It's out as of last week, so you can watch it.
I know. Yeah, I know. I will. I'm going to recommend a podcast. It is a new podcast in the Another Happy Studios library of podcasts. It's called Unfinished Film Thoughts. It's hosted by Lawrence, who is one of the hosts of Another Happy Pod and Still Got Legs. And it's essentially just him kind of rambling about films and stuff like that. So if you enjoy us rambling about films, maybe you'll enjoy him rambling about films. So I don't, as of this episode, he only has one up so far, which is just on Marty Supreme. But had a listen to it. It's great. Love hearing from him. So yeah, that's my recommendation. It's called Unfinished Film Thoughts. And if you enjoy that podcast, you can listen to the other podcasts also in our feed, because we've got the other podcasts in our network, because there's lots. There's Still Got Legs, which is a Doctor Who rewatch podcast. There's the Fishing Trip Files, which is a Gavin and Stacey rewatch podcast that ended just there a couple of weeks ago. So if you wanted to listen to all of it, it's there for you to listen to.
Don't forget Another Happy Pod.
Another Happy Pod, yeah. They're doing their Star Wars films now at the moment. They're doing the sequel trilogy, so they have new episodes every now and again, so make sure you're subscribed to them. And then you have a fantastic new podcast that's coming out at the end of this month, which is called Saturday Morning Cartoon Club. So if you didn't listen to our 2025 wrap-up, you may have missed the news that we have a new podcast that's coming out at the end of this month called Saturday Morning Cartoon Club. So the links for that will always be in the descriptions down below. So never ever come up to us with the excuse that you didn't know where to find us, because we're giving it all to you there. So
and free.
And it's free. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to all of the podcasts in our network. Follow us here, Talking Pictures Podcast. Follow us on Saturday Morning Cartoon Club. All of the links are in the description down below. We've new episodes every single Wednesday, and Saturday Morning Cartoon Club will have a new episode on the last Saturday of every month. So I'm sure we'll say that with we have our first episode coming up in a couple of weeks. Do you want to tell people what we're going to be talking about first, or will we let it be a surprise?
No, I think we should be surprised, considering the fact I should definitely make it first.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay. So I think we'll do a surprise for the first episode, but we could tell people what we're going to be watching each month. The next month, so that they can prepare if they want to watch it themselves before we talk about it. But yeah, so make sure that you are subscribed to all that kind of stuff. This podcast brought to you by Another Happy Studios, so make sure to check out the other podcasts on the network. Brian, any final words before we let these people go?
No, like I said, got another podcast to make, so gotta get to it.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, David.